I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. Tatotaco joins us. Hi.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Tatotaco. I am a VTuber from Latin America. And although I am speaking in English to you, también sé español.
Do you do streams in both English and Spanish?
Well, due to me having to stream with my friends and wanting to stream with my friends, I do speak Spanish with them.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, if I'm streaming alone, I feel myself more more expressive in English.
That's interesting. Do you get is there a large VTuber community in your area to draw some collaborations from?
Well, yeah, I know. It's that every time that I hear anything from the Latin American community of VTubers, almost always it's nothing good. I mean, there are people out there who are doing amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them who like to dance, some of them who like to sing, some of them who like the more not safe for work stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I really don't identify myself as being very Latino itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's important where you feel you're coming from, and then what you're comfortable with is the most important thing. So when did you get started VTubing?
This year, actually. If I remember correctly, it was February.
Well, February. What brought you into it? Why'd you get started?
Well, mainly, I always wanted to do some content creation. It's just either putting myself down, telling myself I couldn't do it, or just having not the best hardware around to do stuff.
Right.
Right now, I'm paying for my own internet. I have a new computer, and I said, this is the time. I can do this now.
Yeah. And was it an easy jump? Did you get a good start?
Well, it's been rough. The problem is that most of my streams are muted.
Oh.
And they're long streams, so I would be playing for 5 hours. Right now, I reduce it to 5 hours because before it was 10 hours.
Whoa.
I would stream for 10 hours, muted. And the reason why is because my main gimmick is I stream while I work.
Oh. Alrighty. So you're not able to stream while you're talking because you're at work while you're doing it. Okay. So is that tough to get a good following with?
Well, it's not. I wouldn't say tough. I really haven't looked into how to gain a following.
Mm-hmm.
I know that everybody has strategies, and everybody tells me that I should do this or do that or do this. Personally, what I'm trying to do is keep myself focused because I need to be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that the work that I do is so boring if I am not doing something with my hands. Because it's just me talking into another microphone, telling people to take their medicine or something like that.
Yeah.
And just as a PSA for anyone else who watches this, check on your grandparents. Make sure that they're drinking their medicine.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell that to my grandson. Check on me to make sure I'm taking my medicine. But so you are actually at work while you're doing this.
Yeah, it's that I work from home. I was lucky enough to find a job that lets me work from the comfort of my own house.
Wow.
It's just at first I was listening to music to keep myself concentrated.
Right.
then I was watching videos or TV shows or movies,
Right.
but still I kept feeling bored. And eventually I said, screw it, I will play video games while I work. Because while playing single player games, I can always press pause.
That's true. That's true. And the have you been
So,
how does this work when you do have the collaborations though? Do you still remain mute while that's going on?
well, I haven't had any collaborations
Mm,
yet.
mm,
I do hope to eventually befriend some of the people out there.
mm.
Is the problem with me is that I am not shy in the sense of sharing who I am and uh, talking to people.
Right.
The problem that I have is I'm too shy in engaging people. I
Ah,
don't come up to you and say, "Oh, hi, how are you?"
so it's not a question of talking to people. It's meeting them to talk to people, meeting them in the first place,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
the, yeah, is that I can run and I can fly all I want. It's just taking the first step that is the main hassle to me.
yeah, yeah, I can understand that for sure. But once you get settled in, everything's fine. So hopefully,
Yeah.
when you do get underway and decide to make that step, whether you find some people on Discord or otherwise, um, you get that first step out of the way, and you find the right people, and you have some fun with it.
Hmm.
That's that's the biggest thing. Now, when you got started, what type of games were you playing?
Well, the first game that I played on my first stream was Dirt Rally, mainly because I was just testing it out,
Uh-huh.
seeing if it worked. But the first game series that I made was Pacific Drive, a pretty awesome game, very nice uh, ambience. That's one of the things that I always like about games is feeling that environment and feeling like, ooh, that feels nice.
Something that's immersive and keeps you
Yeah.
like surrounds you and gets you in the game. What
Mhm.
I have I think I've barely heard of that game before. I'm sure I haven't seen anybody play it. So what does that game entail?
So if I remember the story correctly, um, somewhere in North America there was an event of new science being discovered, and the U.S. government decided to wall everything off around that area because a lot of weird and wacky stuff was happening.
Hmm.
And after many years, the program didn't work. They shut it down.
Hmm.
And out of nowhere, you get a note to go visit the place. And you, in your little minivan, drive along to the wall, go through the wall, and bad stuff start happening. And while you are almost dying after that bad stuff, you find a new car, a Winnebago. And apparently, a lot of anomalous things happen. And that is one of the anomalous things. There shouldn't be any cars there. And yet, this one was materialized in front of you.
And a Winnebago, nonetheless.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which are pretty practical.
yeah. Oh, yeah. The back before you had your crossover cars, and people combining all sorts of things into their vehicles. The Winnebago was the one you used to pack everybody in and go somewhere.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah, I after seeing a couple of videos and after having some personal stuff happen, I honestly started not disliking but hating SUVs and big trucks. I now want to find something small for whenever I get my own car.
I can't blame you there. Once you get that experience of trying to handle it, there
Mhm.
sometimes the cars like that. I've noticed up here when you're driving in the wind, they tend to throw you around the road quite a bit. We get a lot of wind up here.
Mhm.
It's not the easiest drive. Looks nice, but if you're upside down in the ditch, it doesn't really help you out much. Not
Yeah, at least here is more justified because most of the roads here aren't paved, so
Mm.
the poor sedan will never make it across to the old town.
Right.
But one of the infamous immortal Toyota Hilux, that thing will drive you anywhere.
That thing, you could hit that with a missile and it's going to keep going. those
Yeah.
those things will last you. They're better than
Hmm.
Jeeps, I'll tell you that. Jeeps, I just my personal experience with Jeeps are not good. What other games
Yeah.
have you been playing online besides those?
Well, mainly the main games that I've been playing, and that is thanks to one of my friends starting a Steam family, is that with Steam family you can share games, and
Mm-hmm.
so I've gotten the experience to finally play Resident Evil. So one of the big series that I'm doing is playing many of the Resident Evil games, especially the remakes, because the old ones I never played the old ones because back then I was a born child of Christ. I didn't mess with horror games and stuff like that. So
Right. Yeah.
now that I'm not, I say screw it, let's do it. And sadly, I don't feel the aspect of horror, but I do like the story. They are pretty wacky.
Well, that's a different way to look at it. Horror games and I probably wouldn't mix very well. I do
Yeah,
jump scare,
yeah,
but
no, me neither.
yeah, I just like I get a jump scare after a while, and I'm like, okay, that's enough, and turn it off. But some
Honestly, honestly, the game that has scared me the most isn't actually a horror game. It's a realistic shooter called Insurgency.
oh
Because at the time, I never played the game. I was very new,
yeah
but the idea of one bullet, one kill,
mm,
that was a new concept for me growing up with Call of Duty and all the other games.
oh yeah
I
yeah
feared that because you can hear the footsteps of people coming. You can hear the muttering. You can hear your heartbeat when you were the last person. It was intense. That is the feeling that I like. The feeling of I am alone and I know that this is unpredictable.
right. So well, that's interesting because yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because so many of these games you can take an unrealistic amount of damage, uh, 6, 7, 8 shots, and then take a pill or a drink something or a syringe, and suddenly you're well again. That one shot is a lot more realistic, and it will be a lot more tough to keep your nerves about you while you're trying to play the game.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like that's one of the things that I also like, especially about new games.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a new game drops, everybody's trying to figure out how to play. There is no strategy, there is no guides or anything. Everybody's taking it serious. And that moment when everybody's taking it serious is the magical moment I really like to experience because after a while you get people like Call of Duty, you get all these crazy skins and everything looks off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Then
And
you get some people who are have played it so much they're now just speed running through everything and
yeah, like for example, when I was playing the Resident Evil games, I took the story seriously. I wanted to pretend like what would Leon do in this moment
hmm
instead of saying what the.
yeah. Just what
And
the
yeah, and and obviously I want to get immersed in the idea of I am this character. I want to be this character to figure out what they would do.
uh-huh.
Of course, with the limitation of games, you'd be like, "Come on, man! It's a window. Jump through it. You have done it before. Please."
Why won't you do it now? It's right there in front of you. Do it. No,
Yeah.
but the what when you got these games like the Resident Evil upgrades or I would say reissues, um, not only do you get the games in a better looking format for the most part, but more than likely any bugs that were in the first game are going to be taken out by the time you get to the remake. So you've actually got kind of a better product all the way around.
Yeah, because right now I'm trying to play Resident Evil 5, especially with one of my friends,
Right?
and I decided, hey, let's play with the controller. I finally got myself a controller to play with my games,
Yeah.
and oh my god, I hate it. I almost had an aneurysm trying to play that thing because you know how you move your left stick to move forwards, backwards, left, right?
Right.
No, this one is forwards, backwards, and if you move left to right, it actually turns you around. You don't strafe, you physically rotate.
Oh, that's not
And I'm
right.
like, why are you rotating? I want to run, please.
Yes, that's not good. I don't like that at all. It's I when I played the Fallout game, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, I tried to do that off a keyboard, which is almost impossible. To For me, I'm being an old fellow and being left-handed.
Hmm,
It really was mostly left-handed anyway. The
yeah,
keyboard didn't fit everything correctly, but once I got into having the controller set up, it was much easier for me, and I was able to actually shoot things that were coming at me rather than just lay over and die, which I was doing most of the time. But you say you found it the other way
yeah.
around. Is it easier for you to use the keyboard?
Well, with my long history of games, the first thing that I ever held was a controller.
Uh huh.
And I found myself doing well with a controller. I
Hmm.
even went to a local tournament here in my country, and I almost got to second place, but I had to leave because tomorrow was a school day. So,
Oh,
yeah, I
oh,
was still very young.
oh
So,
my.
um, but the thing is that I found myself well with a controller. And when I got my first computer, of course, I tried to put in games in it. The problem is my first computer was a laptop and a crappy laptop at that. So I could only play for 1 hour before it overheated and I had to use the mouse pad to move everything. So it was pretty complicated. I just said, nah, computer games are not for me.
Yeah.
Scrapped it, never touched again
Oh,
until I got onto high school. I met one of my best friends that I still hang out today, and we decided to download Borderlands. And
oh,
it was a struggle to find our footing as to how to play games, but we eventually got to not only find a way to play with each other, but also communicate because before we used to call each other and we ran out of data to call each other
oh,
and we had to call it a day.
that's a pain. I have to worry
Yeah,
about
because we
data
were
or something
still
like that.
figuring it out.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, the see, I started. I'm a very old guy, so I mean, you're talking
Mhm.
pre-console stuff that I was playing, and
Mm.
I bought a computer when I got my first job at 18, and I've used a computer ever since. Now, just barely used any type of console since then, so it's a little bit easier for me. But if you were raised with a controller and console, I'm surprised you don't use it more with your computer.
Yeah, no, it's that the problem here is stuff is very expensive, especially when you have to pay for it yourself.
Oh yeah.
I got my first job like 3 years ago,
Hmm.
so I finally experienced the pain that is buying your own stuff.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
finally managed to pay my for my computer, and I said, okay, I got everything. I'm just missing the controller just to add something to it because the one thing that I cannot play with keyboard are racing games.
Oh no, no, that's
Yeah,
almost
because
impossible.
the problem is that the with racing games it's either full gas or full left or full right. There's no finesse, and that finesse is what I like.
Yeah, yeah. You can if you press the letter R, you are going to get the letter R or nothing, and that's how
Mhm.
that's
It's not a progressive thing like
uh,
small r,
yeah,
smaller r,
yeah,
bigger R,
slightly bigger.
capital.
It's like not like if you have a little joystick with your controller that you can, kind of finesse a little bit around it. None of that stuff. It's either yes or no, and that doesn't work for a
Yeah.
racing game in the slightest. Which is why a lot of early racing games were just terrible because the controllers weren't set for it. And if you tried to play those old games on old consoles, there wasn't really any real racing to it at all. So, what have you got any big plans for the channel right now, or have you got everything pretty much set up?
Well, right now the model I'm using is mainly a placeholder. I wanted to make something not that represented me as I am right now because I'm a little bit pudgy,
Mm-hmm.
but something that would at least come to an approximation of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have a document, a Word document,
Mm-hmm.
as to my plans for the future.
Uh-huh. So what are
Okay.
those plans?
Well, it's titled Roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
First, I want to get better at doing 3D uh, in Blender. I'm learning how to use Blender on my spare time, which is very little.
Yeah.
But like one of my new heroes that I follow nowadays says, progress is progress, no matter how much it is.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you keep taking a step forward, you're doing well.
Yep.
So although it's a long road, I do want to learn how to do my own characters in Blender. I want to make my own videos in Blender. I want to make an overlay for my videos or streams.
Yeah. And
The other thing is, I would like to make my own videos, like actually put the time to edit and make a video.
mm-hmm.
So far, the most view video that I have is between a short and a 6-second video.
Well, I mean, if
Uh,
a lot of people have really gotten into those now, so some people use those to kind of draw them back into the other channels, where they're drawn into their main channels. Are you going to try to use those to draw people into your streams?
the problem is that I barely have any time. I'm doing the bare minimum with shorts. I just grab funny snippets of my streams and ship them off. Some of them do well. Some of them barely get a view or two.
Yeah.
But the ones that I've edited actually has gotten the most views. But that's mainly because I understand how the YouTube and TikTok algorithm works, as in they mainly ship to the people that are nearest to you.
Right.
So if I make a video, I better make it in Spanish because the first people that are going to find out about it are the people near my house,
No, that's
near my
true.
home, in my country.
Yeah. That's good
As much as
marketing
I
there,
want,
actually. That's
yeah,
if your audience is there, you want them to be able to understand what's going on.
yeah. But the problem is that I really don't feel like I fit in with the people in my country. I
Mm.
feel like I want to appeal more to the people in Europe or the United States.
Well, and then that's you could do the if your stream is mostly mute to start with, shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, no, and I because right now I'm doing a series on the Metro line of games.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Russians have actually showed up, being like, "Hey,"
Mm,
and because I also stream at around 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., I always do two streams,
right.
one muted and the other one with audio. A lot of people from Europe or Africa actually have shown up, being like, "Hey, how are we doing?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing that the how the time zones work with this particular um, medium because like I will start an interview at my time midnight, but if I'm talking to someone in Australia or the Philippines or Japan or that area, it's in the middle of the afternoon the next day. So it's
Yeah.
yeah. But if I'm able enough because of my job to move things around. But it's interesting to be able to talk to people completely on the other side of the planet from you and have them in your audience. Um, so it's have you been able to keep up a good audience from outside your country like that?
Well, so far, the one a particular type of stream that is doing pretty well is the streams where I force myself to do homework, because right now I'm also in university, and right now I'm taking computer science engineering. I forget how you translate this particular degree,
Yeah.
but I'm taking computer science. I'm learning how to program, and so I've titled some of the streams "Learning How to Program in Said Language."
Yeah.
A couple of people from Africa, from Europe, Spain, I think, show up, being like, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Well,
Doing my stuff.
sounds like to me you got a nice diversity in your audience and a lot of good things to build on in the future.
Yeah. My ultimate goal is I want to work with a particular organization
Mm-hmm.
called World Center Kitchen, because they once came to my country
Mm-hmm.
and I did volunteer to help with them one time, and I wish to volunteer with them another time, but I don't want the catastrophe to fall on my country again, and
Right.
I cannot go to anywhere that they go to. So I would like to help them in the future eventually.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you can do that online and get fundraising or something for them.
Yeah, that's the idea.
And
That's also in the roadmap.
that's cool. So I do appreciate you coming on, Tatotaco, and I really hope that you're able to keep expanding and keep going. Sounds like you got a really good head for it, and I wish you all the best in that computer class, because you're in a field that changes every day. the the finish line
Yeah.
keeps moving farther and farther away from you as you learn more and more. It's not the easiest thing in the world. But thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me, and I hope you also have good luck with your endeavors, my friend.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.